Good. There it goes. Okay, great. So now we're recording. I'll get my screen shared. I hope everyone's having a good almost holiday season. So if you want to put in the chat what you're excited about coming up for the holiday, I'd be happy to look at it. And then we will get going. So I'm going to share here. All right, so let me see if I can, oh, maybe I can't see the chat this way then, but let me know if you, let me stop sharing actually, and then we can, let me know in the chat, I guess, before I get going if you couldn't have see that or anything like that. So otherwise I'll get going. All right, I don't see anything, so I think we're good. And I'll take questions, of course, at the end. Oh, someone, there we go. Share. Okay, great. Lindsay's going to monitor the chat. Thanks, Lindsay. Okay. All right, then I think if we're good there, which I think we are. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get going then. So hello and welcome. My name is Kimmy Vandeweghe, and I'm a registered dietitian at FoodSmart. And I have my master's degree in public health and nutrition and dietetics from the University of Michigan. Go Blue. I'm also a certified holistic chef from the Natural Gourmet Institute in New York City. I love to cook and bake, but most importantly, I love to share meals with family and friends. So at FoodSmart, we're committed to connecting people to nutrition support, including a personal dietitian and daily tools to make eating well simple. And I hope if anyone joined from the previous webinar, it's good to see you again. And if you're new, then also good to see you here. So we'll dive into our topic. So before jumping in, I'd like to let you know that by attending this webinar, you'll have a chance to win your choice of a $250 prize. So that could be a Fitbit Versa, Vitamix One blender, or a $250 Amazon gift card. So all you have to do is book an initial or follow-up visit with the dietitian by tomorrow, the 20th, and then use the code WINTER. Visits cost as low as $0 depending on your health insurance. So I encourage you all to take a second and book a dietitian visit, and I'll put the link in, or Lindsay can at some point during our time. All right, so what is on the agenda today? So we'll be discussing why staying well in the winter can be a challenge. We'll focus on 5 areas for staying well: immune health, getting gut health in check, keeping energy up, balancing movement and rest, and feel-good foods, and also a Q&A, so you can put some questions in. All right, so what changes in winter? The interplay of both physiological and social changes that occur within and around the body can impact our health. The winter solstice is Saturday, so December 21st. So if it feels like the days are very short, you're absolutely right. This can affect our sleep patterns. Sometimes I want to go to bed at like 6 p.m. I don't know about any of you guys because it can get so dark. We also might feel tired, our mood can be down, or we've all heard of SAD, seasonal affective disorder type of depression that could happen seasonally, unfortunately. But sleep is very important. So during sleep, we release cytokines, kind of a sciencey word, but these are essentially proteins that signal the immune system to do its job. So we definitely want to make sure that we're sleeping for immune health. Colder temperatures also increase our metabolic rate. So the body needs to use more energy to generate heat, and our appetite can also increase a bit due to this. And then I'm just checking. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. I can see the chat a little bit, so that's good. I'm just trying to figure out how I could see it while still sharing. All right, and regardless of weather, people are generally less active in the winter compared to the summer. So if we're used to getting exercise outdoors, the weather or lack of sunlight might keep us indoors. We might also have more holiday events and parties that focus more on indulgent foods rather than exercise. The combination of spending time indoors and drier air can lead to illness. This was kind of an interesting one when I was looking this up, but dry air can actually reduce nasal mucus production, which helps to trap bacteria and viruses. This means that bacteria can sneak in through the cracks and cause us to get sick. So there is something to be said for the winter time being a drier time. So a busy schedule can be stressful, and this chronic stress over time can also weaken the immune system. Alcohol can suppress immune health, and consuming larger amounts of sweets and sugar can increase inflammation in the body. And I know we've heard of this before, like anti-inflammation foods and that kind of thing. It's okay to have some inflammation in the body, like when we injure ourselves or get a cut on our hand or something like that. But then it should go away. So when we have this chronic inflammation is where the immune system continues to attack the body, even when there's no active threat. So we don't want that to happen. All right, so 5 areas of focus for feeling your best in colder months. So we'll get going with these 5 areas. First one is immune health and the immune system. So we've talked about this a little bit. This is the focus of our presentation, right? So what is the immune system? And not to get overly sciencey about it again, but the immune system includes things like our white blood cells, lymph nodes, tonsils, our skin, mucosa, kind of a fancy word for the area, the lining of our intestines, the lining of our gut, which we'll talk more about soon. The immune system protects us by recognizing and attacking invaders like bacteria or viruses in the body through this complex network that identifies and eliminates these invaders. So we want to keep the immune system in tip-top shape to ensure we can ward off illness. There are things we can do from a nutrition standpoint to really make sure our body is ready to shield us from the germs that come our way. All right, so what can you do, right? What are things that we can control? Because we can't control everything, relatives coming in with maybe little kids with different germs, what can we do to control from our perspective, right? So eat the rainbow. We've heard that before, and unfortunately, we're not just referring to like eating Skittles candy, even though it's like eat the rainbow, right? Their advertisement. We mean fruits and vegetables. All colors bring different nutrients to the table. The more diversity of nutrients, the better for our health. So zinc, you might have heard of zinc, that helps immune cells develop. So helps with wound healing. And foods high in zinc include meat, shellfish, legumes like lentils, chickpeas, and beans, pumpkin seeds, cashews, almonds, dark chocolate. We love to hear when dark chocolate's a winner. Um, and we've heard of vitamin C. I'm sure that you know, the benefits of vitamin C when we're sick are well documented, right? But it's great to consume vitamin C. It's definitely not just a cure-all necessarily. There is some research that shows it can shorten the duration of a cold, and mixed reviews if focusing on extra vitamin C once you feel a cold coming on helps or not. However, vitamin C is found in many fruits and vegetables that have many benefits. It can't hurt to up your vitamin C intake if you feel the sniffles coming on, but it's even better to have a consistent source of vitamin C in your diet. If a cold does come on, then you're already doing what you need. Now, we all know vitamin C is in orange juice, things like citrus. I'm sure everybody knows that. But did you know that a red pepper contains 3 times the amount of vitamin C than one orange? So get the red peppers if you like those. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage also contain vitamin C. White and sweet potatoes also contain vitamin C, so it's just another reason we don't always need to choose a sweet potato over a regular potato, because regular potatoes still have vitamin C and maybe more potassium, I think, than the sweet potato variety. So, of course, sweet potatoes have their own good things, but I never like to say you only have to choose those. Add in antioxidants. So, antioxidants in food can help combat free radicals, which in a chemical sense are molecules that are missing an electron. So they're unstable. So these antioxidants give an electron to these molecules, that are missing one to neutralize them. So if we have too many free radicals in the body, they can damage our immune cells, among other things. It's normal and actually helpful to have some free radicals in the body, but making sure we eat plenty of foods with antioxidants can help make sure the appropriate balance is maintained. And stay hydrated. We'll be talking about this a lot today, but water helps us break down food and absorb nutrients. Staying hydrated also helps the lymphatic system, which is part of your immune system. The lymphatic system produces and releases immune cells that destroy bacteria, viruses, among other things. Staying hydrated also allows our mucous membranes to fight off illness. If our mucous membranes are dry, remember, the bacteria and viruses can kind of get through the cracks and lead us to getting sick. So definitely important to stay hydrated for many reasons. All right, so now we'll talk a bit more about gut health. You might have heard about the gut health, or the microbiome, which are all general terms for the well-being of our digestive system. This is where digestion and absorption of nutrients takes place, which affect our health overall. The gut signals to our brain hunger and fullness cues, which regulates our appetite. More than 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut, which regulates mood. You might have heard of the gut-brain axis, which is this connection between a healthy gut and a healthy mind. There's a whole field of nutritional psychiatry that is all about eating for mental health. So that's really interesting if you ever want to look into that a bit more, but talks a lot about this gut-brain axis. All right, a little more detail into the gut. Most of our immune cells are actually located in the gut, which is great for nutrition because we can influence the bacteria that live there to help us stay healthy. The GALT, G-A-L-T, gut-associated lymphoid tissue, kind of a mouthful, is this collection of immune cells and structures in the intestinal wall. So that's kind of what it stands for. So gut dysbiosis is an imbalance of the bacteria in your gut. This can be caused by a loss of beneficial bacteria, like taking antibiotics, stress, eating a low-fiber diet, or alcohol and smoking can affect this too. It's an overgrowth of harmful bacteria, or maybe a loss of bacterial diversity. So you want lots of bacteria, and you also want lots of different types of bacteria in your gut. So the dysbiosis is when there's this imbalance of bacteria. There can be inflammation, which reduces the ability for the immune system to work optimally. If the gut is in imbalance, the bacteria or viruses can then sneak through the lining of the gut and enter the bloodstream, which we don't want. So definitely important to have a good gut bacteria. So some more buzzwords that you might have heard about, prebiotics and probiotics, right? So prebiotics feed the probiotics. So prebiotics are found mostly in high fiber plant foods. So these are some of the different types that have more prebiotics in them. So resistant starches is the first type. Resistant starches are a type of prebiotic that resists digestion and stays intact to feed the gut bacteria. These are found in foods like potatoes, oats, beans, rice, and barley. Inulin is another type of prebiotic fiber known for making you feel full longer, and it also feeds the gut bacteria. Foods containing inulin include asparagus, garlic, leeks, onion, soybeans, and yams. Pectin is also a prebiotic fiber including foods like apples, carrots, peaches, and raspberries. When prebiotics are broken down by the gut bacteria, different short chain fatty acids are created depending on the kind of prebiotic. As a result, and I know this is more sciencey, but the short chain fatty acids, they provide energy to the cells in the colon. So those cells help with mucus production and aid in inflammation and immunity. So these prebiotics are feeding our gut bacteria, helping them to support our immune system at the end of the day. So um, although all prebiotics are fiber, not all fibers are prebiotics. The prebiotic fiber that doesn't get prebiotic fiber is the one that doesn't get digested by the time it makes it to the gut. So it's still intact and can be used. Most fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans contain at least some prebiotics. So just something like iceberg lettuce, doesn't have prebiotic fiber, but it still has some fiber and is beneficial for other reasons. So most of the time, if you're eating a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, you're going to be eating prebiotic fiber. Probiotics. Now let's get to Probiotics are living microbes in our gut. They strengthen the microorganisms that already live in the gut. So probiotics are found naturally in fermented foods like kefir, yogurt, miso, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, to name a few. Probiotics do a lot of complex things for our gut health. They work in more ways than one. Probiotics stimulate the immune cells, causing them to activate. They interact with them to better fend off illness or defend your body from invaders. Probiotics ingest the prebiotics, releasing these short chain fatty acids that reduce inflammation. So, probiotics strengthen the mucosal lining of our intestines and prevent bad bacteria from getting in. There are also probiotic supplements out there, which I'm sure you've seen, which research is saying is more of a low risk intervention, meaning they likely won't hurt to try. But it's not certain they actually help populate your gut with beneficial bacteria. But again, it could be a good intervention. So it's usually fine to go ahead and try something out. Probiotic supplements are considered dietary supplements and are therefore not regulated by the FDA. So you do want to look for third-party certification on the type you buy. And this is another reason to maybe focus on probiotic foods rather than just supplements. And I think that's a good thing to go with in general is trying to get these things from food sources. But again, if there's a reason like you've just taken an antibiotic or you're having maybe some gastrointestinal symptoms, it might not hurt to try a probiotic. Just try to pick obviously one that's been tested or recommended by a dietitian or a doctor or something like that. All right, getting the gut in good shape. So, in addition to just probiotics and prebiotics, we also want to moderate the inflammatory foods. Things like alcohol, sugar, and ultra processed foods, we should kind of moderate there. I've been hearing the buzzword of ultra processed foods more recently too, and this just means that food that's been through a series of industrial processes to get them to their final form. So processed foods aren't necessarily unhealthy, and a lot of food processing actually helps food be more accessible. However, when it's processed over and over again, usually with lots of sugar, fat, or cosmetic additives like different colors or smells, um, might mean the food is processed to a point that it's barely recognizable as food. So these types of food can impact our microbiome by increasing inflammation and disrupting the good bacteria that are already living there. So, and then, yeah, so just take that with a grain of salt, literally, like, including processed things are okay. Try not to get things that are processed to a point of where they're not recognizable. I think it's all about obviously trying to focus on what we're adding in rather than what we're taking away. So if we're adding in things with a lot of prebiotic fiber probiotics, then maybe it'll naturally kind of crowd out some of the other processed foods that we might be consuming. But always good to note that there's a place for some processed foods, and there's also a place where we might want to moderate it a bit. And another note to keep yourself hydrated. So many behind the scenes processes our bodies do require water. So we got to make sure we have the basics of hydration before getting too complicated elsewhere. So another note to make sure to stay hydrated. All right, keeping energy up. So who wants to feel sleepy and sluggish during the holidays? Not us. So here are some tips for keeping energy levels up. And I'll hydrate to be a good example. Okay. So sleep is so important. I usually tell my patients it's hard to focus on nutrition when we're not getting quality sleep. Lack of sleep can actually increase the production of our hunger hormone called ghrelin. We might also be too tired to make decisions we want to around food, leading us to get off track with our goals. Try to get a good amount of sleep for you, which typically means around 8 hours. Some people might be okay with 7, others might need closer to 9. Try your best to get the sleep that makes you feel well rested. So I know I've heard this before where it's like, if we didn't have alarms, if there was an alarm that had to go off, what time might you naturally go to bed and wake up, that kind of thing. So how many hours would that be where would feel well rested, which I understand is very hard to get sometimes, but just kind of take note of how much that might be. This can also mean putting phones and screens away an hour before bed, which is really hard to do sometimes. But this time of year, especially, lean into the cozy vibes of lighting a candle, sitting by the fire, or reading a good book. So the concept of, I thought it was pronounced hygge, but it's pronounced hygge, is a Danish concept that describes a feeling of coziness, contentment, and well-being that comes from enjoying life's simple pleasures. So I would say let's try leaning into that, right? That sounds pretty good this time of year. Make sure to eat consistently throughout the day because we sometimes forget that food is energy. If you're really tired too, it's like, well, have you eaten? Have you eaten consistently? So food is energy at the end of the day. Eating consistently also helps us enjoy sweets in moderation and keeps us away from blood sugar spikes and crashes. And I know I talked about this in my presentation last month if you were there, but just really making sure to think about how you're eating in the beginning of the day, even if there's a larger meal coming up later. So really make sure to plan consistent sources of protein, healthy fats, fiber, fruits and vegetables, all of these things, so that when you get to events later on, you're not overdoing it to the point where you're not able to make the decisions you want to for your goals. So. Find time for some movement. A workout we enjoy or a walk with friends can boost endorphins and energy levels. And watch the caffeine intake. Of course, a nice coffee or tea can be a part of a healthy routine, but relying too much on caffeine for energy can cause us to crash and feel sleepier once it wears off. And again, stay hydrated, and I'll take a sip of water too. Dehydration can cause low energy levels. Okay. Balancing movement and rest. So, we've talked about exercise increasing energy levels, but exercise also helps our immune system by circulating lymph. This basically means fluid is moving through your lymphatic system, filtering out waste, bacteria, and viruses to keep us healthy. We also boost serotonin levels when we exercise, which increases our mood and helps with anxiety. Remember, the gut is a muscle too, so exercising helps with digestion. When we are too sedentary, our gut can be more sedentary too. Exercise also helps our body use insulin to take the glucose from our bloodstream and into our cells for energy, balancing our blood sugar. So yeah, definitely make sure to get moving when you can and activities, that are enjoyable because I think that's part of the problem sometimes is forcing ourselves to do certain types of workouts that we don't actually enjoy. And there's so many different types of movement out there. So trying to find something that you genuinely enjoy and want to do, get excited to do, and even better if you have friends or family or someone that, you can do certain activities with, then it's always more fun and holds you more accountable. All right, incorporating feel-good foods. The holidays are a time to celebrate, and food is also a part of the picture. It's important to allow for some fun with food. The goal is to keep eating all the food groups and not just put all your health goals on hold. Balance out special treats with food that makes us feel energized, things like veggies, fruits, whole grains, healthy fats, and protein. So this is another thing I talked about in my presentation last month a little bit, but just the concept of making sure you do enjoy yourself this time of year, making sure that there are those special moments in connection with food, but then there's also this focus on making sure you're still eating all the other food groups. And I just was talking to a patient earlier today about this, but with her children, but sometimes the kids they want to do like holiday cookies or they get really into the sweets and decorating and stuff like that. And it's really easy, especially for a kid, to fill up so quickly on cookies because their stomachs are just smaller. So definitely figuring out a way where we can make room for the nutrients we know are going to keep us feeling energized and feeling really good. Things like whole grains and fruits and veggies and protein sources, so that when we do indulge in some of these cookies or holiday treats, it's not the only thing in our stomach, and it's less likely to cause this like increase decrease with the blood sugar, spike drop, spike drop. So that's definitely something to focus on. All right, and this is another kind of good segue for my next slide. Starting the day with a good source of protein can help us feel full and energized later in the day. Eating consistently throughout the day, even if there's a larger meal later on, can also help us not overdo it. So that was the concept I was just kind of talking about. But Just another good focus here to think about protein. A lot of typical American breakfast might be lacking on the protein unless you have eggs, but a lot of this stuff, like pancakes or waffles or even avocado toast is really good, but sometimes doesn't have much protein in it. Again, not everything has to be perfect with protein, but starting the day with a good source of protein can really help us. So thinking about what kind of protein sources you enjoy. I know there's certain breakfasts around the world that include beans for breakfast. Beans are a great source of protein. Eggs or egg whites or frittatas and those types of things can also include some vegetables. So again, just thinking about what might work for you. And a little note on drinks, we do love a festive drink, but make sure you're still drinking water. Keeping the sugary drinks to a minimum can help us stay hydrated and allow us to feel better the next day. All right. And reframing your goals. So this is another note that I talked about a little bit last month I wanted to bring into this presentation is because I just think it's really good to have guiding questions when you're thinking about your own health journey and where you're at and what you want to work on. So the first question might be, what goals are related to my physical health? What goals are related to my mental health? What goals have flexibility? What traditions am I able or willing to change to keep my goals on track? And what traditions might I need some support to change? So part of it is really thinking about not overwhelming yourself with goals too. There's so many things I know people want to work on, and if we get really excited and we want to tackle everything at once, it's not always the right thing to do all of it at once. That's why I think a lot of people with like the New Year's resolutions things kind of fail a lot of the time because it's like way too big of a thing, too big of a goal to focus on maybe. Really where the wins happen are in the small moments, are focusing on the small things that can get us to the big thing. So trying to think about goals either if it's this time of year or if you're thinking January, which I know is like only a few weeks away, which is wild. So definitely think about what are some small things I might want to work on now? What bigger goals might I have? But how can I kind of backtrack to see what are some smaller steps I can take? Maybe I start with focusing on my water intake. And we only focus on water for like 2 to 4 weeks, something. And I know it's not, we're all used to that, instant success, right? But, trying to think about, okay, what are some things I can start on small. Maybe I'm not working out at all. Maybe I want to start 1 day a week. We don't need to jump into 5 days a week working out. Let's start with one. Let's try a couple of different styles of workout. Let's find what we like. Um, Something with food, you want to work on the added sugar. Then let's focus on what are we adding in? What things with fiber can I add in? What are some sweet treats that are lower in sugar, or maybe some more like fruit-based things or smoothies or things I can add into my day that still taste sweet, but maybe don't have so much of the added sugar. So thinking from an addition mindset. So again, think about it with yourself. And of course, this is a really great thing to talk about with a dietitian or any, friends that you talk, if any of you guys have, circles where you talk about your goals, which I think everyone should. So, something like that is good to think about. All right. And of course, we all remember the winter season and holiday time isn't all about food. So, trying some other activities to build connection with your family. These activities might lower our stress levels too. So, taking a walk outside, crafting. I talked a little bit about last time about like arts and crafts projects. I'm a big Pinterest fan. I love pinning like different craft ideas and photo ideas and stuff like that. So anyway, it could always be a good time to focus on some of those things. And, checking out the latest movies is also another one. I don't know if anyone saw the new Wicked movie, but I'm a huge fan. I can't stop singing the soundtrack. So highly recommend seeing that. That's a fun activity. Holiday light displays can also be fun. Doing a time capsule with family so you can open it next year could also be something. All right. And a dietitian can be an excellent partner to help navigate this, winter season or going into the new year. So, a dietitian can really help you assess and formulate your goals, consider your unique health history, preferences, and needs to make a personalized plan to reach your goals. They can also discuss, action plans, offer tips to navigate your personal struggles, especially during the holidays or winter time can definitely be that. And then, they're also your motivator, accountability partner, and resource to check in to keep you on track. So it is always, always so good to have somebody on your team. And working with a dietitian can also be really helpful, whether it's, a couple appointments or whether you talk to them for a long time. Just getting started with a dietitian can be really helpful. So shameless plug. All right. So here are some key takeaways. So winter and the holiday season, bring about a unique challenges, right? We just talked about those things. We focused on the areas like immune health, the gut, energy, movement, balancing, feel good foods, and then thinking about what areas are important to you to get support from a dietitian to help you create a plan. And then holiday traditions can be healthy too. So invite friends and family to join in on the fun. All right, so now questions. I know if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. We can take a peek at it. I can answer anything probiotics, prebiotics, for those of you that might have questions. Otherwise, yeah, thank you so much for listening and for being here. Let's see. I'm gonna stop my share so I can see, but okay, Q&A. Chat is currently disabled. Oh, let's see if I wonder if that worked. Where are you? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. And Lindsay put a question in the chat if anyone's feeling like, if anyone's feeling chatty, please do so we can, otherwise I can talk to myself for a little longer. But I feel like orange juice would be my answer too. I like orange juice, but now that I learned about red peppers when I was in grad school, I learned about red peppers and how much vitamin C they have. So I think trying to incorporate peppers where possible would be really great. So let's see. Okay, I don't know if anyone has questions. But let us know, really. I promise I can try to answer, even if you're not sure. Let me know. Happy to answer. Got some time.
I see someone raising their hand, so I'm not sure if you want to drop that question in there, in the chat. Can see it.
Coming through. It says chat is disabled. Okay. For me, it shows everyone. Or maybe you can just put it in the Q&A. Is it working if you answer a question in the Q and if you put it in the Q&A?
I
Oh,
may have clicked a button that helped. Let's see.
okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, but the Q&A is working. So if you have it, and it says, is there a? Oh, now it looks available. Thanks, Denise. Thank you. Um, will there be a replay of this recording? I think we are gonna put yes, there on our website, our YouTube page, right, Lindsay? I think our YouTube page has
Correct.
recording. So we'll eventually be adding it there. So
For sure. Thank you guys for bearing with us this morning. We had some technical issues to say the least. So Kimmy did a great job bringing us bringing us back around and
back
sharing with
around.
us.
Yeah, we're back from the tech stuff, but we're good. If you already have an appointment in January, will I still be included in the drawing? Oh, good question.
I so it's any new appointment scheduled. So you could go ahead and schedule your next visit.
Okay.
And because the codes have to be entered as you're scheduling, so we can't retroactively apply them.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I got some questions coming in too. What's the best supplement for membrane repair? I have dysbiosis. So I know I would say first, have you tried some of the probiotic foods, right? Have we start with tracking, and you might have already done this, tracking how much fiber intake you're getting, like how many grams, are you getting 25 to 30, I believe is the recommended amount. So sometimes starting there, and then the best supplement for I've personally read studies on the brand called Align. There's probiotic supplements. There's also like a pill form. There's gummies. There's a couple of options. So I do know that one has some research behind it. The other ones I would just check third-party certification, and there's going to be some that are, refrigerated, some that aren't. I wouldn't worry too much about that part and just checking on the third-party certification. There's some that say USP, NSF. There'll be other names for some of those things. So I hope that answered your question, but there's, yeah, definitely starting with the basics and then definitely adding in some supplement potentially to see. Um, and then how about honey? Yeah, so the honey is a tricky one because I know there's like some honey that is, it's more like local, like raw honey, that kind of thing. That's going to be the one that has like the most nutrients in it. I'm not sure about the craft honey. I mean, honey does have some healing benefits probably regardless. But I'd have to like double check, especially from like a probiotic or gut health, you know what I mean, gut health perspective. I'm not 100%. I know there's the like more raw local honey that can have a little bit more benefits there, but I can always get back to you on that too. Um, does cooking sauerkraut kill the good biotics? Read that recently. So that's a good question. There's it depends like how much it kills, right? You know, there still might be benefits to it. Again, sauerkraut also, yeah, it has probiotics, but it also contains fiber and other beneficial things. So even if it is cooked or heated slightly, it probably still retains something. Um, but good point. A lot of that stuff is going to be, you know, eating it from like the fridge or if it's pickled or it has that kind of stuff. I don't know if Lindsay has anything to add to that, but
Yeah, I think you're mostly right. Like slightly warming it, probably not going to do much. If you're boiling the crap out of it, you're probably going to, denature some proteins and kill some of the live enzymes in there. So I think if you're,
yeah,
yeah, like you said, if you're going for the probiotic benefit, I would try to eat it raw and cold. But it's, as Kimmy said, like a nutritious food otherwise. So
yeah,
um, I would incorporate both.
perfect. Great, thank you. Yeah, thanks for your questions. Those are really good ones.
Yes.
Know any follow-ups too? We'll hang on for a couple minutes, but yeah, supplements. Let's see if I missed anything. Cool.
The other thing I would just say about membrane repair, so this is not, so there's two things, right? The functional aspect of the gut, so making sure your membrane is really intact so that you can absorb all the nutrients, and then dysbiosis is kind of what Kimmy touched on more. On the membrane repair side, actually marshmallow root. So true marshmallows, and this is top of mind for me because I just made some marshmallows for the first time using
Awesome.
marshmallow root and slippery elm. Those are all very like soothing. They coat the lining of your esophagus and then also your gut. And so you could look up some recipes for that. There's some good ones. Just make sure there's the really super sugary version that you buy at the store that has none of the medicinal properties, and then the ones that I'm talking about that do. So that's an option. There's also some marshmallow root teas and that include slippery elm. I think like the more popular throat coat tea actually has
Yeah.
those herbs in there. So those things from an herbal standpoint, and then from a food standpoint, anything like mucilaginous. I know it's kind of a gross word, but like think okra for example, is the best example of that. You get this like coating, and what you're wanting to do is heal the membrane. And so anything that can sort of protect it, it's not super inflammatory. So avoiding things like sugar, lots of like processed sugar, and also alcohol that sort of disrupt the lining of your gut, and adding in some of those things that are more healing will help out there.
Cool.
Aloe
And
vera, that's a good one.
yeah, the one other question was about, yeah, pickles and similar kind of thing, like if it's a fermented pickle that hasn't really been overly like pasteurized and that kind of thing, there are certain brands that do have probiotics in them. So just checking the label or doing a quick search online with the type of pickles that you like and just checking if they do contain like the live probiotics in there. And it might be labeled. I was just looking online too to see if I could find like a particular brand of pickles, but there are a good amount that are coming up that do have some probiotics in there. And aloe vera maybe.
I think that was more towards to the like things that coat your.
I think you were right. Yeah, I was like, I don't know about probiotics for that, but yes, definitely cool. Yeah, there's so much out there. So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, thank you all for the participation and round of applause to Kimmy, as usual, for awesome information, helping us just with tips to stay well this winter. So, yeah, we will be sharing out the recording of this, so you should receive that in your email and hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season for the rest of the year.
All
So
right.
thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Thank you.
All right.